Let's talk about LCS now, because LEC is one thing. Now LCS,
yeah, let's end on a positive.
because LTA North came in this year, was the rebrand for the LCS. It was supposed to be this 2-conference system a la Riot's Valorant circuit, where they combined South America and North America into one competitive region. And, this was LCS viewership was flagging. And I do agree with the concept. And, I was quite vocal on Summoning Insight before that I think that having cross-regional competition between America and Brazil is a good idea, especially at this kind of the late stage of League of Legends esports, in order to bolster viewership. However, the execution of this was absolutely fucking terrible, in that they barely had any cross-regional competition. It was in winter split and then in summer split only for the playoffs, just barely. And so you basically had 2 separate leagues that were just combining for international representation qualification, which doesn't help raise the level of
And you had
Brazil.
fewer for what was the LCS. You just went down to like 1 or 2 slots, etc.
Yeah. So you also cut the numbers of teams in North America. You cut the numbers of teams in South America. You cut LLA entirely and moved those Latin American slots into guest slots in both regions. And so this was a really disastrous idea. So, of course, in true Riot fashion, at the end of this year, at the end of the summer split, in the finals, they announced, oh, guys, LCS is coming back. It's coming back. But really what this was an unforced error, because as I said on Twitter, what happened is between Summer Playoffs 2024 and Summer Playoffs 2025 with LTA, so the LCS to LTA comparison, sure, the overall numbers weren't down by that much. They were still down. But the real problem is that the number of English language viewers decreased by 58%. So now like 2/3 of the viewership is fucking, Portuguese language viewership, which is fine if you care about that. But one of the purposes of doing this was to combine the viewerships of the league. And somehow you ended up with less than LCS last year. And you went from like 220,000 concurrent English viewers at the peak to 94,000. So like when you announce LCS coming back, the question is, what does that look like? If you're bringing CBLOL and LCS back and you're splitting them up and you're not giving the Portuguese fans a reason to watch this, isn't the overall viewership of LCS going to be an absolute tragedy next year? So I want to pose to you guys, do you think that the LCS brand carries so much weight that after a year off, magically all of these English language fans are going to come back?
You know what I find funny on all this is I remember back when it was EU LCS and NA LCS, and I remember being angry that when they did the split that they got to keep the LCS brand. I remember being annoyed by that and be like, damn, because people know what LCS is and people for whatever reason care about that. And then when they came out with the LEC brand, I was like, meh, that is not particularly inspiring. I don't really like that, whatever. Yet
we're doing all those jokes, lick my balls, and it was all that shit, wasn't it? Remember?
Yeah, somehow this shitty green, I'm still not sure what it is. Is it a crown? I don't even know. Whatever that thing is, like, that's irrelevant. No one even really thinks about the branding of that anymore, or whatever. It just because it was a superior league, it just kind of trucked on. And the LCS, basically, as soon as Doublelift and Bjergsen began to lose relevancy, went to shit. And a point that, Thorin makes a lot of the time is they've always failed to build around these huge personalities. Again, in brackets, in the context of esports, because these people are fucking lukewarm water if we're being real. But whatever. Anyway, the perceived huge personalities that they have, they never capitalized on them. They never created or followed through, at least on storylines that spanned over years and years, by the way. They got lucky that the biggest and best players they ever had also had longevity. What a fucking dream. But they never, ever cashed in on it. And as soon as those guys were out the window or on the back end of their careers, it just went to pot. And I think the biggest problem with NA is like a lack of diagnostics as to what's actually wrong with the league and identifying reasons why it's not big, why it's not popular, and reverse engineering it from that standpoint. I just have a question for you guys, because I'm not even actually sure if he's still involved or not or whatever. What was the point of Mark Z? Because the thing is, it's like we're talking about like going from LCS to like LTA or whatever. But Mark Z was like at the helm when this was transitioning over, and we heard a whole lot of fucking waffle about the big boy changes that this guy, who definitely wasn't just a fucking pawn for Riot, was going to make.
Yep.
What happened
He
there?
has no,
What's this guy
Rich,
done?
he has no authority. Like, here's the thing. Like, he has said that his real title is not commissioner, because it can't be, because he's not a commissioner, is product manager. And as far as I can tell, Rich, he has 0 direct reports. He has no employees that actually work for him. So he is, in fact, a figurehead.
I'm not.
Product manager. What's he doing? Managing the
Yeah,
merch
listen,
shop? Like, what's going on?
Listen, mate. Like, if he takes a job like that, then it gets laid on your fucking doorstep.
Well,
You've
also,
got the
you'll notice,
title.
hilariously, Mark Z suddenly disappeared for most of this year.
Yeah.
Didn't make any public comments and had no transparency while the viewership was going to shit. Because it's not like in summer it suddenly went down. Like, the viewership has been garbage all year compared to previous years. And there wasn't even a way to spin it. Like, there was literally no good number that you could kind of put out there. And when that
Well,
happened,
to quote
he
your
just
tweet that you
fucking
put out
vanished.
there, you said English viewership was down 58%.
Yep.
And the Portuguese viewership carried the shit, you said, out of the LTA this year.
It did.
Yeah. So
And so
Yeah, but Richard, as Carlos Antune says, we're not here to argue about if it succeeded or failed.
True,
Like, we just
true.
don't know. If we don't talk about it, we don't really know. If it was it a success, that's not even for you to decide. Actually, it's just not worth discussing.
Yeah.
So, but
the
but
thing
like
is,
this-
though, didn't we say as well that this was like a diabolically bad change before it happened?
Of
Weren't
course.
we all like in
Well,
universal agreement about
look,
By
it?
the way, the worst thing is, this is the ultimate example of how Riot gaslights you literally 30 seconds after they said the opposite. They always say that what is happening now is why we have to make a change, right? So viewership's down. So what we're going to do is we're going to rebrand. And we're going to, before that, viewership's down because it's on the weekend. We're going to put it during the weekdays, like the NFL and Thursday night games. Suddenly, then when that doesn't work, we're going back to the classic that you all love. It's on the weekend. They're so fucking insane. They will literally do one thing, saying that you must do it because of the impetus of what's going on. And then when it fails, the fact it fails means that they were always going to return to what they went to do before. But it's like, but wait, you said that was bad too. It's the same playbook that we've seen for like 10 years.
It's also that they have been sabotaging North American viewership to try and get viewership from elsewhere. The reason why.
Oh, by the way, they still do the thing where there's like gaps so they can have
Sure.
a fucking Valorant match.
But the reason why when they said the data tells us to move to weekdays, it was because they could do it earlier in the day so that they could capture European viewership in the evening, which is not the core business of the LCS. It is not the core audience.
Funny when the shoe's on the other foot, hey guys,
But-
being the little, the piggyback broadcast. Weird how that one works.
So-
Isn't it? Imagine getting held down by another league the whole time, not being able to have your own success, be your own man.
But basically, they were like, oh, viewership's going down. So we have, and I do believe the data told them that there were going to be more European viewers than West Coast viewers. Because remember, they were doing this at like 12 p.m. in California on a weekday. So they thought,
Notice the one thing they'll never do, Monty, is leave LA.
Yeah.
That's just inconceivable to escape from
well,
LA. as it
but
were.
sure. I mean, they should move to Texas. And
That-
just
Just
do it for
imagining
cheap.
That movie,
Jack on a surfboard on
yeah,
the sea,
that
you know?
movie is inconceivable, bro. Like that's
I'm just
actually-
seeing Mark Z as Snake Plissken now, which would be funny.
he's more
but-
like the Steve Buscemi character.
That's true. But in any case, like, they said they've done all these things, and now they've done it so that they can get Brazilian viewership. But all of this has led to a steady erosion of actual North American fans who are ostensibly the core audience of this product. And now we're at a point where when you change the LCS branding, we saw what happens, which is that there were a bunch, my theory about this, and this is only a theory that I have from my own observations, is that there were a lot of legacy League of Legends fans who are millennials, who are now in their 30s, right? And they had watched from the time that Double Lift and Bjergsen and, what Rich was saying about these big personalities. And that's when they had gotten hooked. And they had played in college and they had played, in high school. And so they were still watching the game. And and yet they were kind of teetering on the edge a little bit. They were like, well, I'm spending my time watching this, but I'm an adult now. Maybe I have kids. Maybe I have other priorities, career. Maybe I have new forms of entertainment. Entertainment is objectively much more competitive in 2025 than it was in 2015. You have all these streaming services. You have premium TV. You have the explosion of game streamers, right? That a lot of game streamers are going to be more appealing to people of this age group because you might have moved beyond obsessively playing a competitive game and are now playing more single player games or something like that may have changed your interest in the form of media you consume. So entertainment is way more competitive now than it was 10 years ago, even in the digital gaming streaming space, not to mention everything fucking else that you could be doing with your time. So my theory is that there are a lot of these fans who are legacy fans who are just keeping up with it because it was built into their habits. It was something they did. They saw LCS pop up and they were like, cool, I'm going to do this. But when you keep changing the timing of the league, when you keep eroding its prestige, when you make it difficult for these people to watch, and then you change the brand on top of it, and one day, maybe they're not super keyed in, they just see LTA. LTA doesn't say LCS. That sounds literally like a Latin American league. LTA sounds like Latin America. If I were a fan, I'd be like, why am I following this channel on Twitch or YouTube?
It's Riot, so it would have been Latinx.
Latinx American League.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And by the way, just the people, I'm aware it's not pronounced Latinx, but that is the meme. So
it is
I
funny.
was just saying.
And so, like, I feel like a lot of these people were just there and they're like, well, I guess this is my off ramp to not watching this content anymore. And, you know, I might still watch Worlds. By the way, Worlds viewership is great now. International tournament viewership, going fucking awesome.
Didn't they break a record last year?
Yeah, they keep breaking records. They'll break records again, you know?
Yeah.
And, well, maybe not this year because...
I seem to remember, Monte, some crazy lunatics out there having this wild idea about if you, like, created these weird, almost like Super League type things where you always had, like, the best of every region playing against each other, that might actually cultivate some kind of interest.
I just don't see how that's going to take off.
And also, it's like they're now creating additional international tournaments, right? They're giving licenses, like EWC can suck my balls, but, you know, at least it's another international event. Hopefully, you know, it seems like they are turning their attention to the very successful international circuit. And like, to Riot's credit, the changes that they've made to MSI format have been fucking awesome. It's made it a significantly better tournament. The international events are where it's at for League. And then also like Korean domestic competition. I mean, that was always true, but it's more true now.
Personally will not watch another MSI until Los Ratones have a path to play in it because, you know, why the fuck else bother?
Yeah.
Can we really know the best team won?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
you know,
While they're out there.
And all they have to do is fix Worlds because Riot has tacitly admitted that double elimination is better because when they created VCT champs, which is the equivalent of Worlds, they put double elimination, but Worlds can't have it for reasons? I don't know. Anyway, to get back to the point...
You just need Whippo to say single elim is the best and all women agree or something mad like that.
So to get back to the point, I think a lot of fans who are just kind of hanging around were just totally turned off by this because it wasn't the thing they have nostalgia for and it wasn't the memories that they had. And to be clear, when I advocated for combining regions, I never advocated for changing the LCS brand. Like you should not do that. You should not do that. And so what this has resulted in is this collapse of English language viewership. And, you know, that's reflected, by the way, in LFN's content. And it's not just us. If you look at podcast viewership in English in League of Legends, what else has collapsed? The Dives viewership has collapsed. Euphoria's viewership has collapsed. Hotline League collapsed so badly it no longer exists.
Remember, the dive is not only promoted by the whole wing of Riot. Isn't that even put in the client? Doesn't that even appear?
It has been before. I don't know now, but
like, but even so, the arm to push that's the fucking bellwether bit. If that goes down, you are doomed.
It's on a channel for LCS that has, you know, tons of subscribers. But like, and sure, you could say, well, Euphoria no longer has Kadril, right? But I can just tell you that every single English language podcast, including ours, went down significantly at the start of this year. And Kadril wasn't on it last year. And you could say, well, my presence on some of these League of Legends podcasts, you know, moving away from that probably hurt. That's totally true. But basically every metric on every podcast is way down. And all you have to do is look at Hotline League and look and say, like, holy shit, like the viewership to that just cratered and nothing changed between last year and this year, besides the fact that people lost interest because of the changes that Riot made. And people can't even follow the fucking league anymore. The LoL esports site is wrong about the league. I used to be able to Google LCS and like other sports. It would just come up with the top result being like box scores. and the upcoming matches. Doesn't work anymore for LTA. So you have to know it's called LTA. Then you have to look.
Doesn't work for LEC either, by the way.
Which is-
I tried like the last 3 splits. It hasn't worked for LEC either.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, man? How are you supposed to follow these leagues as a fan when the official website is wrong and you can't even easily find the information when you Google it? Like, what is the method here for following the league? Also, you have to remember that social media has changed the way the algorithms work. Most people do not view a chronological feed of Twitter. So when you tweet that the games are starting, people don't see that. They see the For You feed, which is the algorithmic slop, and they're not going to see it. It used to be, like back in the day, you tweet and it shows up at the top of the feed and everybody's like, oh, I'll click on that right now because it's happening right now. Nobody views social media that way anymore.
As someone who uses Twitter all the time, every day, that's even one of the most jarring things about how our industry works, because I myself am going through, so I'm getting things in my feed from people that I like and click. And the joke is I'm just getting posts like, let's see how we do in this match 3 hours ago. And the
or like
CS match
10 hours ago.
What's the point of me seeing this fucking tweet?
This is why we can't run 4 horsemen the way we used to with the summoning. Same shit, same fucking problem. So you have to adapt the way that the world is working. And Riot has not adapted. They don't provide information. They arbitrarily change the brand. So I think all of these factors just stacked up, and the brand changing was either people are just like, well, I don't even know what's going on, or they're like, all right, I'm done with this. This is the final straw. You changed the days. You made it so fucking hard for me to watch your league, and you changed things so many times that I can't be asked anymore. Like, I'm ready to move on with my life. And so I don't know if you announce LCS brand is back, even if LCS pops up, some amount of fans will come back. But is it going to be 60% of the audience that you lost is going to come back? I can just tell you right now, the English language viewership for LCS next year is going to be fucking terrible. It's going to be awful. And by the way, people will always say, well, Monte, are you like cheering for Riot's demise? We have a stake in this at LFN. Do I want my own shows to go down? No, that fucking sucks for us. Like, I hope all the LCS fans come back. I hope there are more LCS fans because it's good for me.
By the way, not to like pile on the doomer, but to like put this in some kind of perspective. What did you say the peak viewership was? Something like 90,000, 94,000 or something like
for playoffs.
Imagine
in English.
Yeah, for playoffs. Okay, about 94,000 playoffs in English, whatever. Think about all these teams and what their setups are. Like gaming houses in and around the Los Angeles area for the most part, paying players like Bwipo and others like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
For what, like 100,000 viewers? Like, what the fuck are we? This is like the worst expenditure.
And that includes
think of it as like funding a stream.
That includes co-streams, by the way. This is all English language viewership. The Twitch stream, I think, had 29,000 viewers. This is a Twitch stream that would get 500,000 viewers concurrent for a TSM versus CLG regular season game a decade ago. The mismanagement of LCS has been catastrophic. Like, how do you do this?
Think of the dollar spent per viewer of this enterprise right now. It must be like the worst in streaming. Like, if you just look at it purely from a streaming aspect, like how much money people spend on their streams and their own setups or whatever, there can't be anything worse than this. You have people getting 6-figure salaries to be part of like a 200-person like setup to play in a studio in front of 24,000 people on Twitch and then however many on co-stream. That is horrendous. Like, no one's making it. I mean, not that that was a mystery, but so far as no one's making money, these people are doing the best job of not making any money. Like, holy moly.
This comes back to the whole thing we were saying about Riot, though. There never seems to be a performance component in esports when it comes to Riot, the company. Like, why are they not just wholesale? You're all just fired. Who are the old heads who came up with this? You're fired. Who's the person whose idea it was to change? You're fired. Here's what I don't get. Riot Games, right? Riot Global, which is basically just the NA people dominating the world with American cultural values and making other people change their leagues and doing stuff like, right, you have to get rid of this broadcaster that's like legendary. Oh, you have to like give control to this person. You have to like stop having 2 teams. What the fuck are you doing with that? You get a million variants that all work. Right? Even after you fucked with everything, your flagship project, just pisses itself to death and bleeds out in the corner. Even though, as we've said, you've even done stuff like when the EU's actually having its own chances. In theory, you cut the legs off by making them rebrand. They just get through it anyway, survive, endure, thrive. You go, look, China and Korea are the best regions. By the way, even Korea says they have a problem making enough revenue. China has crazy viewership, but maybe they have the issue with supplying the next stars. The idea that you don't ever look at other regions that you have the least control over and go, maybe you know how to do this better than us, that never seems to occur to Riot. Like, why? Here's what I don't get. Why have they not just been in the same way as Cloud9 would try and bring in BDD, who was really good from Kid? Why are you not airlifting in people from OGN? Why are you not airlifting in some person who works in the Chinese league who designed their system? Like, surely their models have worked in a way yours has never called. In fact, yours has been almost in it. If you pull out, it's just a line that goes like that. It's got tiny little ups and downs, but it just goes like that. And the craziest thing always to me, Monty, is if you actually stop comparing just last year, because that game it doesn't sound that bad. It's when you compare what it was 10 years ago. That is fucking bad. Like, remember, in Korea this year, I think the highest viewed game was the 4th place decider between Gen.G and T1 to see who was going to get the playing spot for it. Right, bro, that's like millions of viewers or whatever. LCS used to be able to get like 500k. That was real. Those numbers were real. Like, we're now going, fuck, can you get back to 100k? Fuck, how have we gotten to here? How did we, like, that's the part I don't get. It doesn't seem like Riot, because they just always have this very, very myopic view of like last season and what we're going for next. You never acknowledge that this has been a systematic collapse. This is one of the craziest, like, I always say, to me, this is why I never gave Riot all those props in the early days, boys. When they used to get, at the time, crazy numbers, I used to go, yeah, but look at the circuit. Like, the circuit will never be like the open circuit. Look at what you've done with your leagues. Look, you let it. I always said it's like you have a fucking Lamborghini and you won a street race against a Ford Fiesta, and then you're celebrating that you beat it by 1.2 seconds. Meanwhile, like, you should have just destroyed it. You should have left it in the starting blocks. Like, no game. The idea of Counter-Strike without Korea and China can ever compete with any of the viewership your tournament. And by the way, at the moment, a Counter-Strike tournament would kill the fucking LTA. What are you talking about? Like, that would be, if those numbers existed for like the 5th biggest Counter-Strike tournament, they wouldn't put it on. If the LTA numbers, that is your franchise league you sold $10 million slots for. This is nuts. Like, but this is never acknowledged, ever. Even when they acknowledge small things, maybe we put it on the wrong days, they'll never acknowledge the overall thing of like, what have we done to this league? That's also why if I was an owner, I can't believe why anyone would buy it except a guest slot.
Yeah.
How would you ever join the league?
By the way, they actually, it was one of the things that they maybe like accidentally had right at the start, in my opinion, where if you remember the old system when back when they were getting the huge viewership, I'm not saying there's like a perfect correlation here, but it used to be they'd show the European games and then immediately after on the same stream, you'd have the North American games. And then by the way, after that, you'd have the Challenger Series games. We used to have Challenger Series games with 200,000 concurrent viewers. I'm aware some of these people are AFK or fell asleep in their fucking chair with Cheetos on their chest, but still, like, you used to have huge viewerships, and it was well, hey, other brands of crisps are available, but like now it's also split and segregated, and they've been doing this for years as well. Like, remember when they put LEC on 2 different channels? There was LEC 1 and LEC 2 back when they did that horrible group system, so they're having games being played simultaneously. It's like, just every year they drift further and further away from what made them initially successful. Obviously, it's not like Riot was perfect from the off. The international tournaments were horrendous, and stuff like MSI is way better now than anything we had back then. But domestically, in the West, they have fucked it. Like, honestly, if anything, I'd just say, screw it. We're going back all onto Riot Games. Everyone go back onto the Riot Games channel, and we'll just stream it from fucking 1 a.m. to 1 a.m. the next day. Just non-stop league. A lot of people will just leave it on. We'll sell those fake numbers. Never stopped us in the past, has it? And just,
to pick up on Duncan's point as well about Counter-Strike and how, like, if a tournament achieved these numbers, it would be like, fuck, we might have to rethink the whole thing, let alone a franchise league. Basically, we've got this new tournament operator called Fissure that's come out, and they ran their first event, it was a few months ago, and their first event right out of the gate in July had a peak viewership of 180,000 viewers. And that was with a game involving a Chinese team, Tyloo.
They didn't even have most of the top players.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any of the top 5 or something like that.
A lot of the top teams missed it, right? Because it was just out of the player break, and there was an ESL event around the corner. It might have been Cologne. Anyway, They achieved 180,000 peak, 70,000 average with none of the top teams there. I think as well they'd done a deal with Kick.
It was exclusive, I believe.
Right. I mean,
yep,
so,
no Twitch, no
right?
discoverability, no none of that shit. Yep.
And people were saying, because Fissure's funded by, like, you know, gambling money, Bet Boom, I believe, primarily, they were saying, like, this is a problem. It's double the fucking LTA. Yeah.
Is there any suggestion that they, because it's on Kick, I know they have a pretty bad botting problem. Could that possibly have?
I mean, look,
no.
Those numbers,
those numbers are totally plausible.
Yeah, I mean, for CS, those numbers are definitely plausible.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you,
and by the way, don't ever let anyone do that thing where they go, yeah, but in CS you get all top teams. First of all, I just said they don't have the top teams. But even if you did get the top teams, that would be called the Super League. You fucking idiot. Monte said do it, and you said don't do it. So you can't have it both ways. You pick which it is. If you think NA can be its own sport, then you did it like this for 10 plus years. What are the results? If what you did brought you to me, then of what purpose was your ideology?
What purpose was your ideology? Exactly. I mean, look, and just for context as well, Rich, the second Fissure event that they just had in September, their peak viewership for that was 792,000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suspicious of CS viewership. I'm just suspicious of Kick. Of
course. Yeah. No, I can totally understand it. But I mean, again, that final, the grand final, was Mongols versus Furia. So you've got two, you know, huge engaged fan bases coming together. So it's like, you know,
imagine that, Richard. So wait a minute.
I know.
If you get like a Brazilian team that has a lot of viewers, you'd want them to directly play the other team. Oh shit, that's crazy. Someone should try that.
I know. They really should. And it's kind of just, it's so weird whenever I look at the decisions they made about the LCS product, because it was far and away the most sophisticated, advanced, high production value.
Also had the most money by an epic margin.
It had it all. It really did. It had the characters, the personalities, the big brands. You know, I remember the days, like, even, you know, like, you didn't miss TSM playing CLG. You didn't miss that. You didn't even have to like League. You didn't even have to play League. If you were an esports guy, you knew that was massive. You knew that was huge, like unavoidable. El Clasico, but on a almost like insane scale for esports. And, you know, people did, and the viewership was massive. And the consequences and fallout of those games were massive. And then you look at what LCS became. I agree they had to make changes, but this wasn't it. You don't surrender. You never do this in esports. Never surrender your history. Never surrender your credibility. Never surrender your authenticity. These stupid rebrands with shit logos. These fucking like, oh, we're changing the name of the org. Right? We're changing the name of the league. No. The one thing you can't buy back is the fact that you have all this pedigree and prestige. You can never get that back if you fucking do these stupid rebrands. And people never learn that lesson. And the problem is now I'm like with you guys, or y'all, as Kometo likes to say. I'm with y'all, because I genuinely think like the genie's out the bottle now. I don't think you immediately capture all of those fans back.
How do you do it?
Well, maybe, you see, here's what will happen. Prediction, mark this down, right? Here's what will happen. A bunch of rubberneckers will come back for the first game or whatever, the first day of games. And the viewership will look really high, and people go, we did it, Patrick. We saved the city. You're the best, Zimmerman. And everyone will celebrate, right? And then the next day, it'll go down. And the day after that, it'll go down. And the day after that, it'll go down. And sadly, you're going to be right back at square one a few weeks into the broadcast. And it's going to be, oh, shit, like, we actually can't get the guy. We can't get them back. We can't get them back unless we start making some sort of insane creative changes. And I don't know what that would be. I think they're going to be propped up by co-streaming. And
Cage will not.
Which... Yeah, that's a problem as well.
Yeah.
By the way, that's another reason, in my opinion, why an obvious route was some sort of a Super League, because you need those EU co-streamers. Like, remember, double co-streams, all these fucking games. No one, even he isn't a big streamer at this point in time. You've even let that wither on the vine. By the way, how badly has that aged? Just stop being a pro, getting millions in the LCS. You can just be a streamer for life. By the way, I sometimes host I'm a Cutie Pie. I feel bad because he has like 2,000 viewers, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, look, they, you know, unfortunately, it's not just that you can be huge as a streamer. It's just unfortunately, they are League players, and League is in the toilet in general. Like, there isn't an appetite for League content.
Oh, hang on. I saw Wild Turtle streaming World of Warcraft to 17 viewers about a week ago. So come on, they can diversify.
But that's what I mean.
Wings.
Like, okay, so here's what happens. It's like audience capture, right? Like, here's what happens to all these streamers. I know him for League. I like him when he plays League. I will only watch when he plays League. I will only play League, says streamer. Streamer only plays game. That is failing. Notice his viewership going down. It is time for a change. I am going to play World of Warcraft, guys. Nobody tunes in. But why? They like me, right? Right? And this is why, you know, when the iron is fucking hot, that's when you need to make the shimmies and the shakes and the zigs and the zags. And people never learn the lesson. Diversify your portfolio while you are on top, so you can always pivot out of the thing you are known for and retain a large chunk of your audience. I have done it several times. I have somehow been never hugely popular, don't need to be, need to just be popular enough to make a living out of this shit. And I've done it across multiple esports in now 2 decades. I've done it as a journalist, I've done it as a host, I've done it as a commentator, right? And now, by the way, incredibly, on my Substack, which annualizes out to nearly 6 figures at the moment, my politics content makes more money than my esports content. Gets overwhelmingly more views. That's the benefit. And like, these guys don't do that. They fucking watch the number go down and they're going, if I can just arrest how fast it's going down and play more League, they burn themselves out. They stream for 14 hours at a time. And then eventually they snap, play something else. No one tunes in. And now they're on the ledge, man. Like, it's crazy. And it's like, by the way, some of these people, they probably could never have been big streamers. Like, they don't really have personalities that you want to engage with on a number of topics.
Well, they don't offer any value outside of League is the problem. And they're not, they never really were content creators. They were very good League of Legends players. And that's in 2013, that's what mattered on the streaming platforms. There wasn't a substantive difference between esports and streamers because nobody was like, basically it was only the competitive players that were streaming during that era, right?
Yeah.
It was esports that started streaming, but then people realized we can make better content if we're not playing a game competitively, and we can devote all our time to doing this. And also it surfaced people who are more entertaining in terms of personality, who catered their content towards the entertainment angle. And now we have those people, running streaming instead. So I agree. I mean, these people never changed the way that they did something.
This is why Riot again, they fucking, you're holding all the cards and somehow you cannot make a fucking winning hand.
Exactly.
You have got to be kingmakers for this stuff. Right, if you genuinely believe Doublelift offers some sort of long-term value and could be that NA streamer, because Lord knows you won't do it for Dom, right?
I was going to say, by the way, you also have the Doms and the LSs where you not only don't like support, you fuck with people like Dom. You go, you know what, lol, I'm going to take your costume rights away.
Totally could have been Dom.
That for your fucking league, you moron. What are you doing? Why would you punish someone?
Totally could have been Dom.
Riot, the problem I have with Riot is always this. They will always cut off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah.
Even though in this case, you've got partners involved with you. It's not even about you anymore.
So they could have been bringing on Doublelift as like guest analyst and hyping him up. And then, we've got a special announcement. Doublelift. But guess what? We're going to heal relations with Reggie. First guest. Go stream or just do something crazy. Everyone tunes in. They tune in that one time. It's a good time. You're promoting it on the official broadcast. Doublelift is now your NA core streamer. There you go. That's all it takes. You make it happen. You make it happen. You can do that. It's basic media work. You promote the personalities, and then guess what? They do this on like fucking ESPN, every serious sports network. You think those guys sit down and just make a podcast by themselves? I mean, these days some do, but like I'm talking about in the podcast heyday when they were still rare and not everyone had one. You think those guys like went to a big sports network, worked on a broadcast as an analyst, and then suddenly announced that they had a podcast? And then not just a podcast, they were doing crossovers with all the other shows. I mean, even E-League understood that. That was why they put fucking us two dickheads on Inside the NBA. They were hoping for cross-pollination. Riot could do this all the time. You own the broadcast. You've got total exclusivity. promote somebody that you want to
By the way,
fill
you
void.
could even, are you ready? Here's a crazy one. They've never even thought of this. You could even do stuff like have a week where you send Double Lift, your boy for the core streaming, and like, I don't know, Corby, popular caster, to the LEC, and then they do some shit there, and you cross promote that it's another English language league, and it's every Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even do the most basic things, bro.
Yeah.
I think the issue for me, I think, is that I actually don't think anything can save LCS, and I don't mean that in like, oh, it sucks, whatever. I go back to the same issue of like, the only way you bring new eyes to league ultimately is by increasing the player base, and I think those days are gone. No one is ever going to watch it like just apropos of nothing, just like, oh, I'll just check out this. Oh, what's this crazy thing going on? It's like, no, they have to be introduced to the game by their friends or whatever. And again, one of the last conduits to possibly do that, yeah, sure, yeah, was Arcane, which they've fumbled that completely in terms of converting people into players. And now,
another layup, by the way. All you do is follow that up with something in the game.
Mate, I know people who have Arcane tattoos and they didn't know that League of Legends is a game. That is insane.
Perfect.
That sums it up. That just absolutely sums it up. And the thing is, it's like, as you guys said before, the best thing they can hope for is to bring back a certain percentage of previous viewers who, as Monte said, are now probably in their 30s with families and do not give a fuck about watching League of Legends or do not have the time to do so. So I actually think it's just completely cooked.
By the way,
as I said,
look, I agree with you if you mean the big picture. You can never get to the 500k. Those numbers are out. But I'll tell you what, I do actually think that the one way you could immediately stem the bleeding and actually build viewership is to move to not an open circuit, but a land circuit format. I have always told people, there are so many people who don't follow Counter-Strike who tell me like, oh, tune in to like I Am Claude, it's amazing, isn't it? And then they always say that famous line, oh, it's because the game's easy to understand. I tell them, no, half of what makes that amazing is the fucking tournament format, you idiot. Like, what's great is, think about this, sports fans. Every time a tournament begins in CS and it gets to Friday, you know Sunday's Championship Sunday. You know that at about 5 to 6 to 7 p.m. That's when you're going to watch the fight. You don't even have to tune into the rest of it, by the way. Or you follow your team and you follow them on the times they're on, you go through. And then the best part is you have like a week off, then there's another tournament, mate. Yeah. And even though in CS we used to all mourn and go, you see the same teams play each other. Well, that's the same as in a league, but in a league it's a meaningless fucking, it's day 6 of the, it's dog shit, mate. No one cares about that. Like, and again, the NFL, if the NFL could have the Super Bowl every month, they would. They just can't do that format. It doesn't exist. That's what's unique about esports. So I actually think in the West, at least, that everyone would fucking love it, bro. It's why right now they're like, I'm loving MSI. Like, yeah, because it's just a really good tournament format, bro. You don't really like week to week to week of LCS. No one ever did.
Yeah, the thing with like, oh, it's same teams as well is like a complete fallacy, as proved by Chex Notes every sport ever.
Bro,
it's like,
right now, if you
Federer
want the
versus
best,
Nadal again,
exactly right at the moment they have Alcaraz versus Sinner. You want that to be the final. They're joking that in the tennis people have the conspiracy theory. They're slowing the courts down to get those two in the finals every time. That is how significant it is.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like it's just. Everything in the LCS story is just classic Riot, I guess, to sort of wrap up the episode, because it is like, it was a bad decision that everybody knew was a bad decision. It was a bad decision that everybody knew was a bad decision, made for the most cynical, short-sighted reasons imaginable. It was a decision that had to play out fucking over everyone in the League of Legends ecosystem while Riot played God and refused to acknowledge it was bad, even as it was getting worse before everyone's eyes. Fast forward a year, the decision is now being entirely reversed, and we're being told that not only is it being reversed, it is not only good it is being reversed, it is better than it was before we fucked it up and had to reverse the decision. And here's Mark Zimmerman to explain why we're letting him off the leash again. It is baffling to me how one company can like they literally had such an insane head start in terms of finances, in terms of engagement, the most popular PC game in the world at one point, and you couldn't make a lasting esports product. And as I've said, unfortunately, it is my genuine belief that while I agree this is a good decision, it would have been better if you'd never made the bad decision and stuck to it, and you'd try to come up with other creative ways to solve the problems that were going on, like, I don't know, making your content better, right? A novel idea. But I
see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content. Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.